How do you figure out what is true? Is there a formula you can just lay out and then follow that formula in situations and you come out right most of the time? Maybe even someone who has trouble figuring out what's true. Is there some methodology that could be taught that could give someone a pretty good chance, if they had that, to be able to navigate life? What's interesting about that is it's not so much just having a formula like independently be able to verify every claim. Like if you want to have a new discovery, a new recipe that you came up with, you want people to vigorously pick it apart. You have humility. Here's my claim I'm making. Here's my citations. What do you all think? Be ready and excited that people challenge that and come up with new variations for it and test the integrity of what you're presenting. There's a formula for truth with that, where you want to speak in a way where you're selling a property or something where every single thing can be checked out. If someone is like, yeah, you can inspect everything on the property except for this, probably a good idea to cancel the deal. So there's formulas of truth-telling is trust, but be able to independently verify. And then there's formulas for liars. And it's a very similar formula, but along the way there's going to be some kind of emotion and some kind of variable that can't be independently verified, possibly with a false time constraint where you just have to trust the other person. Great example of this is in World War II. Now, of course, who knows about any of these war stories being true, but allegorically, British soldiers infiltrate the Nazis, tell them all kind of information, where certain battles are going to be held, where certain troops and other key things are going to be stationed that really gave them an advantage along the way, built up the trust, even let the Nazis know about a secret technology called radar. And we better hurry up and go attack right now because the range is only 250 feet. Get the whole German Air Force together. Turns out the range was 250 miles. Luftwaffe destroyed from one lie. So it doesn't have to be this elaborate situation. It's just one little piece of information in there that changes everything. And emotionally, there's blinders that get put on this. So that seems pretty simple, but why do people still have such trouble with this is because there's not just errors that happen with oneself. There's a whole personality disorders that people most don't even know exist that are such ridiculous, egregious liars. These people will believe their own lies and then act as if those lies are actual reality. Most people don't have the capacity to even understand this, that people out there can lie this much, this constantly, and to that extent. All of the antisocial personality disorders, the narcissism, sociopaths, psychopaths, can live in complete delusion. And if you ask law enforcement about these people, even they have a hard time spotting them with years of expertise. It's only after something happens that most people realize they were dealing with a professional liar of some kind of source. And that these people exist in the world, there's no real school anywhere in any culture that teaches how to spot scams or how to spot being tricked. The SEC in the United States spends billions of dollars every year trying to help people get out of situations and punish people who commit these scams. It's a big part of life. But it still persists so much because one thing that people evaluate a statement on is, does it lead to a social bond or not? We're such social animals historically because even in prehistoric times, if your tribe has some kind of weird superstition and you don't go along with it, that doesn't just mean you die or you get kicked out. It means genetic death. Your family's gone. And so there's a hard wiring that the leaders kind of believe in this crazy superstitious stuff. Do I just go along with it, keep my head down, or risk getting kicked out alone? And so that kind of hard wiring of just go along to get along, well, knowing something's not true, but doing it for safety's sake, it doesn't apply in our modern world. You don't need a tribe to survive anymore. You can reject the lies of your local clan or people or family or whatever, and it doesn't hurt your ability to fundamentally gather resources from yourself in this modern age. So you have to kind of overcome that ability as well, that people who are liars know how to hack the pillars that most people hold up, that they're a good person, that they're not easily fooled, and that they know who they are. And so a professional liar can walk a group of people or an individual or an entire crowd through 5 stages of grief in a conversation, shifting the perception, the context, and allowing the people to have permission to do something they normally wouldn't have done. They rewrite the story for them, making this new place feel safe, and that allows someone to shift their entire identity without even realizing it. So there's also in our world very much a lack of spiritual understanding. Most people are just going around thinking that they're just in a material world. They call it, there's 2 awakenings, 2 births, where you're born into the physical body, and then also a second birth where you realize you are a spirit as well with a spiritual tie somewhere else, interacting here through an avatar. That kind of awakening really makes you a lot more immune to lies. These are the type of people who would be able to pass a Milgram experiment where they understand there's a larger test at play than just the 5 sense reality where the avatar itself is scared because it thinks that everything could end if they don't play the game correctly. So having a spiritual understanding the liars that exist in the world is necessary to being able to evaluate truth. Because once you understand that you can be hacked very easily also, and to not have pride, and to rigorously go back in your life and re-examine all the places that you have been lied to, that's actually a very painful process in varieties of ways. You could think that maybe you're a soldier and that you're a good person for what you did, but simultaneously you have this cognitive dissonance of, well, why are so many other soldiers having such a hard time with the same things? And it's very difficult for the identity to change. It's very painful to have that cognitive dissonance. I'm a good person, but I also went over there and did bad things, so I'm not a good person. And what almost everyone does instead of facing that is they just rewrite another story to justify the identity staying the same. That removes the pain of that cognitive dissonance. So yeah, I wasn't the only one doing it. Other people were doing it too. I had to do it for my country. Whatever kind of story like that. And you can make that up for anything to justify behavior that doesn't attack those fundamental pillars. So to have a person be able to recognize what is true, they also fundamentally have to recognize why people lie. And looking around, you realize most people are lying to themselves. Most people are in a state of deep shame and guilt and are wearing some kind of mask around that, inverting who they really are. So that big, strong guy with muscles out there who's extra aggressive is actually some kid who got bullied and has to put on some front so that he never feels that way again. So much of the truth-telling journey goes into the grieving cycle over the lies one was told. And this grieving cycle oftentimes includes a lot of depression. So if you realize, hey, I don't want to identify as being this hero soldier anymore, well, now your social circle could change. Are you going to say those things to your friends down at the VFW? Are you going to stop having beers with your veteran buddies? Are you going to tell them how you really feel? That's a very painful process. Your world is going to get a lot smaller by pursuing that path of truth and owning up to those things. And because so many people have so many lies and toxic people in their lives, that is fundamentally why they reject even learning the formula of truth. Because part of them deep down knows that if I go down this path, my world is going to fundamentally change. I'm going to lose friends, and I'm going to be depressed. And I'm going to be depressed possibly for months, long periods of time. And another part of that person's life, body, whole world might know that they're just not in a place right now to be able to deal with that depression from that grieving cycle. Say it's a young parent. They're just starting out living paycheck to paycheck with a kid. Do they really have time to get depressed for a couple months, realizing some fundamental truth about the world that they thought was real was actually a lie? And then where does that thread lead? So there's a lot of reasons why people will reject even the pursuit of truth, because it's just a self-preservation, avoiding pain. And on the other side of that journey, it's kind of like the scene in Lord of the Rings, where Frodo is standing there about to throw the ring into Mount Doom, and he thinks about it. So being able to tell the truth, understand the truth, means you understand the formula of lies. And then you understand that most people are lying to themselves. And now you have a choice about how you interact with the world. These people will be totally unaware if you lie to them, manipulate them, and get whatever you want from them. But will you do that? Or will you pick the path of truth, knowing that most people will probably reject you for telling them the truth? So it becomes your own kind of spiritual weight about how you're going to choose to use this ring of power now that you see the physics about how the world really works. So the formula of truth leads to the formula of liars, leads to understanding that lies hold the world together. And whether that's good or bad, whether social engineering is necessary or not, whether it's the lesser of two evils, it is the physics that operates the world.